The scent of roasted coffee beans filled the air as the early morning crowd shuffled into Luna's Diner, a small, cozy place tucked between two glass towers in downtown Chicago. The regulars came for the pancakes. The tourists came for the nostalgia. But that morning, one man sat alone in the corner booth, a man whose face had graced the cover of Forbes more times than most could count. Richard Alcott, billionaire industrialist, tech visionary, and father of one, wasn't supposed to be there. He wasn't the small diner type. He preferred boardrooms, penthouses, and private jets. Yet there he sat, sipping black coffee and staring through the rain-streaked window like a man searching for something long lost. He wasn't wearing his usual armor, the tailored suit, the diamond cufflinks, just a dark coat unbuttoned, no entourage, no assistants, just him, his thoughts, and the storm outside. He'd been driving aimlessly that morning, thinking about his daughter, Lily, 23, brilliant, but estranged. They hadn't spoken in almost 2 years, not since that explosive argument after his wife's funeral. Lily had accused him of caring more about his empire than his family. Maybe she was right. He sighed, glancing down at his phone. 15 missed calls, all from his assistant. He turned it face down. For once, he didn't want to be Richard Alcott, CEO. He just wanted to be a man trying to remember how to feel. And that's when he saw her. A young waitress, maybe 21, 22, balancing a tray of coffee mugs. Her hair pulled back into a messy bun, her dark skin glowing under the soft diner lights. She laughed lightly as she handed out plates, her smile effortless, genuine. But what made Richard freeze, what made his heart stop, was her eyes. Those eyes, hazel with flecks of gold, the same shade, the same shape, as Lily's. He blinked, almost spilling his coffee. No, it couldn't be. But when she turned again, the resemblance was uncanny. The tilt of her head, the little half-smile, even the way she tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. For a moment, he forgot to breathe. "Sir, can I get you a refill?" she asked, stopping at his booth with that same warm tone Lily used when she was younger. Richard looked up, trying to speak, but the words caught in his throat. Yes, please," she smiled, took his cup and poured. "You're new here. Haven't seen you before." "I just needed a place to think," he managed. She nodded knowingly. "You picked a good spot. Folks here don't ask too many questions." Something about the way she said it, kind, grounded, made him want to talk, to ask who she was, where she came from. But he stopped himself. He wasn't used to small talk anymore. Her name tag caught his eye. Amara. "Pretty name," he said quietly. "Thanks," she replied, giving a shy smile. "Means grace. My mom picked it. Said I needed a name strong enough to carry me through anything." He smiled faintly. "Smart woman." Amara shrugged. She was. "She passed when I was 16. Something tightened in Richard's chest. "I'm sorry to hear that." "Yeah," she said softly, glancing out the window. "But she used to say that every day is a chance to start over. I guess that's how I ended up here." Richard studied her for a moment, wanting to ask more but afraid of overstepping. There was a quiet dignity about her, the kind of strength that came from surviving more than most people ever would. When she walked away to take another order, he couldn't look away. The resemblance to Lily wasn't just physical. It was in her energy, her stubborn hopefulness. He stayed long after finishing his coffee, pretending to read the menu just to watch her move across the room. Every now and then she caught his gaze, smiling politely, unaware of the turmoil she'd stirred inside him. Finally, as the lunch rush began, Richard stood and paid his bill. But before he left, he said, "Keep the change." Amara glanced at the receipt. He'd left a $500 tip. Her eyes widened. "Sir, I can't accept—" "Please," he interrupted gently. "You remind me of someone I used to know. She'd be about your age now." Amara hesitated, sensing the ache behind his words. "Was she special to you?" He swallowed hard. "More than I realized," she nodded slowly. "Then maybe it's not too late to find her." He managed a faint smile, but his throat tightened too much to reply. As he turned to leave, he heard her call softly, "Take care, mister." That night, Richard sat in his penthouse staring at the city skyline. But all he could see were those eyes, Lily's eyes, on a stranger's face. Something about Amara wouldn't leave his mind. The way she spoke, the small birthmark on her wrist, the same spot Lily had one, though smaller. He knew it was crazy, but the thought kept gnawing at him. Finally, he couldn't resist. He called his head of security. "Find everything you can about a waitress named Amara," he ordered. "Works at Luna's Diner downtown." "Understood, sir." By morning, a file sat on his desk, thin, unremarkable. But what it contained made his heart pound. Amara Brooks, age 22, born Atlanta, Georgia. Mother, Rachel Brooks. Father, unknown. Richard's hand trembled. That name, Rachel Brooks, hit him like a lightning bolt. 23 years ago, before his marriage, before the empire, he'd spent a summer in Atlanta on a construction project. Rachel had been a secretary in the local office, bright, ambitious, with a laugh that could lift any room. They'd shared long nights talking about dreams, regrets, everything. It wasn't love, not in the fairy tale sense, but it was real. When he left for New York to build his business, they'd lost touch. He'd never known she was pregnant. He stared at the paper, his mind spinning. Could it be? Could Amara be his daughter? The next morning, Richard returned to the diner. His heart raced as he watched her from across the room, laughing with customers, moving with the same quiet confidence. When she noticed him, her face brightened. "Back again?" "I guess I couldn't stay away," he said softly. She grinned. "Well, I hope you're not here just to tip me again." "Not today," he replied, his tone gentler now. "Today I just want to talk." Something in his voice made her pause. She slid into the booth opposite him. "Talk about what?" He hesitated, fingers fidgeting with his napkin. "Your mother, Rachel Brooks. What was she like?" Her smile faded slightly. "You knew her?" He nodded slowly. "A long time ago. We worked together in Atlanta." Amara's eyes widened. You worked with my mom?" "Yes, she was..." "Incredible." He swallowed hard. "Amara, did she ever mention who your father was?" Amara froze. Her hands tightened around the coffee pot. "No," she said finally. "She said he left before I was born. She didn't like to talk about it." Richard's throat went dry. The room felt smaller, the air heavier. He took a deep breath. "Amara, I think that man might have been me." The clatter of dishes, the hum of conversation, everything seemed to fade around them. Amara blinked, staring at him like she hadn't heard right. "You're saying, you're my father?" "I don't know for certain," he said softly, "but the timing, the name, everything fits." "And when I saw you, I just knew." Amara's face shifted through disbelief, shock, confusion. This is insane. You're Richard Alcott, billionaire Richard Alcott." He nodded. "I'm also a man who might have a daughter he never knew." She stood abruptly, stepping back. I need a minute." He watched her walk toward the kitchen, her hands trembling. The other waitresses stared, whispering. Minutes later she returned, eyes glistening. "Why now?" she asked. "Why after all these years?" "Because fate threw you in front of me," he said quietly. "And because I can't walk away again. Not this time." She sat slowly, her walls cracking. "If you're really my father, then where were you when she died? When I was working double shifts just to eat?" His eyes burned. "I didn't know, Amara. If I had..." "But you didn't," she cut in, voice trembling. "You had everything. And we had nothing." He reached across the table, his voice breaking. "Then let me change that now." For a long moment she said nothing, just stared at him, tears brimming. Then she whispered, "You can't buy the years back." "I know," he said softly. "But maybe I can earn what's left." A week later, a DNA test confirmed it. Amara was his daughter. The news shook Richard's world. His board didn't know, the media didn't know, no one did. But none of that mattered. For the first time in decades, he felt human again. He began showing up at the diner every day. Not as a billionaire, but as a father trying to learn who his daughter had become. Sometimes they talked for hours after closing, sometimes they just sat in silence, letting the reality settle. She told him about her struggles, her dreams, her late mother's strength. He told her about his regrets, his loneliness, and his desperate wish to make things right. Slowly, the bitterness between them softened into something fragile, but real. One rainy afternoon, as they stood outside the diner, Richard handed her an envelope. "What's this?" she asked. He smiled. "A business grant, for you. You said you wanted to open your own bakery someday." Amara stared at the papers, then back at him. "You don't have to. I know," he said gently. "But I want to." For the first time, she didn't argue. She just stepped forward and hugged him, The kind of hug that didn't erase the past, but gave the future a chance. The rain poured harder, but neither of them moved. And for Richard Alcott, standing there on that gray Chicago street, it was the first time in years that he finally felt home. "You said